Hey everyone, just downloaded my very first tutorial. Hope that you guys enjoy it. It's a really simple, easy look that you guys can do for every day or just an interview. So if you want to learn how I got to this look, just please keep watching, and I really hope that you enjoy. Okay, first we're going to start with our foundation. I'm using Giorgio Armani The Luminous Silk in 4.5, I believe. First you want to make sure that you do moisturize. I use CeraVe, their morning moisturizer. And also prime your face. It's really important to prime so that your makeup stays on all day. I like to use the Smashbox for the pores. You can also use Professional if you have large pores like I do. That's really great for that. So I'm just using a foundation brush all over. You could use your fingers if you wanted to, or a damp beauty blender. It's really a preference, and so I'm just putting it all over my face. Next is for under the eyes. I'm using the Laura Mercier. I believe this was a sample, so I'll link as to which one exactly that it is. I do like peach tones for under the eye. I think that it helps brighten up underneath any dark circles best. You can also use the yellow tone if you'd like, but I prefer peach. So I'm just applying that with a concealer brush. This one's actually from e.l.f., which is really cheap but really good as well. I'm just applying that all underneath my eyes, as close to the lashes as possible, so that you really get to brighten up underneath. I poked my eye there. It happens. Very clumsy. And I like to use my finger, my ring finger actually, to blend. I find that it blends underneath the eye the best for me. Again, you can use a damp beauty blender if you'd like. Those are really great to blend underneath the eyes, but I like to use my fingers. I think they're the easiest and the best. So next we're going to do some highlighting. I'm using the Age Rewind concealer. I believe it's in light. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a triangle right underneath my eyes, just to really highlight that area. And here you can see it's a little bit more of a yellow tone, so it's also going to help brighten up these areas of my face. I'm also going to put it down the bridge of my nose and do a little triangle on my forehead and right on my chin, just to brighten up these areas. And then we're going to blend it all in with a foundation brush. And the foundation brush I'm using is actually from Sephora. I think I look crazy. But you can get that at Sephora. You don't have to spend a ton for these kind of brushes. I find that it works really well. So it's one of my favorites. So you just want to make sure that you keep on blending until there are no more harsh lines. Just blend until everything is nice and even. So next we're going to set our concealer with a little bit of a yellow powder. I like this one from the Anastasia Contour Kit. I recently bought this. I actually got it on sale, so I had never really tried anything like it before, so I really love it. I think everything goes on really nice and easy. It's really pigmented and it doesn't make it look too harsh. So I've just used a big fluffy brush to put on the large areas, and I'm using a smaller concealer powder brush to put it right underneath my eyes. I think that it really helps brighten up under the eyes, as well as everywhere that we highlighted, as well as sets all the concealer that we just did, so that it stays all day long. So next we're going to go to contouring. I actually really love to do this for every day. I like to use this gray tone in the center there to really define my cheekbones. So I start in by my ear and I do a nice straight line, straight down, not too far. You don't want to go all the way down to your lips. And we're just going to blend, blend, blend. I like to actually go up into my ear. I just find that it creates a nice clean look. So you just keep blending upwards until there's no more of a harsh line, just a nice diffused line, and it helps create the illusion that there is a shadow there, which will in turn make it seem like you have an intense cheekbone, which I love. So for me, this is something that I would do every day. If you don't feel like doing these steps, you don't have to, but I think that everyone can do a little bit of a contour in their cheekbones. I think that's really, really flattering. You could also do it on your forehead. I do a little bit around my forehead. I don't really need it, I don't think, but I do like to add a little bit of dimension there as well. And as you saw, I do like to put it underneath my jaw just to define it a little bit more. So again, just keep on blending. That's really the key to a good contour, is blending. You want to make sure that there are no harsh lines and it just is nice and diffused. And I am using an angled brush from Sephora. Again, not too expensive if you can afford it. I definitely think that these Sephora brands are really worth it. So next we're going to do a little bit of a bronzer. I like this lighter shade, and we're just going to go over all of the contour areas that we just did, just to add a little bit of color to our face. I love bronzer. I think no look is complete without bronzer for me. So this is something that I absolutely love doing, and I'm just going over the contour areas. We're going to define them just a little bit more, and again keeping it nice and diffused. Now we're going to go to blush. Now this one is by NARS. I believe the color's name is Desire, and I'm just using a dual fiber blush to add it to the apples of my cheeks. Make sure you smile real big so that you can get it on the right area. And I like to start at the apples and just swirl it towards the temples of my cheeks. For a bright blush like this, you're only going to want to dip your brush once into the color because it is so bright and you don't want to look like a scary clown. So a little bit goes a very, very long way. So next we're using one of my favorite highlighters. It is from Benefit and it's called What's Up. It is, to me, I think the most flattering of all the bronzers that I've tried. I'm sorry, the highlighters that I've tried. And I think it's the most flattering as well. It's a nice champagne color and it's really easy to use. Just swipe it on and tap it in. And I like to use, again, my fingers. I think that it just creates more of a dewy glow when you use your finger. You can also use the little sponge at the end of the tip. My camera died, so I had to switch lenses. And then you just keep on dabbing until it's nice and blended in and there's no sharp lines. And you just glow. And that was my sister just coming in for a second. So what you want to do is make sure you keep the strokes nice and short. You want to make sure you're kind of trying to create hair. You want it to make it look as natural as possible. I like to start from the bottom and kind of work my way from the beginning to the end. I do like to extend my brows just a little bit because mine are naturally very short. You could really do it however you like. Your brows should start from the inner corner of your eye and end pretty much at the outer corner of your eyes. Mine naturally don't, so I kind of like to make them longer, and I do like to set it with a clear brow gel. So next we're just going on to the eyes. I do like to add an eye primer. It kind of helps my eyes. They're really sensitive, so it helps take away the little bit of a sensitiveness from the shadow. I don't know what it is about shadow, but it does bother my eyes. The primer itself doesn't. This one is by Urban Decay. And you just want to apply it all over the lid, anywhere that you're really going to apply shadow. Now you do want to let it dry before you put shadow on. I didn't, and it does make a little bit of a difference. I think I did put a lot, so I always make faces. Now when looking to figure out what kind of look to do, I wanted to keep it pretty simple, something that you can do for an everyday, maybe at work if you work in the office. And I really love the Naked palette. I got it again on sale. I really think though that it's worth it if you want to do just very simple, easy eye makeup looks. I think that the Naked palette, the first one, is really great for that. Now I love, always as a base, I use Sin. I just think it's the most perfect wash of color for the lid. I'm just going to tap it all over, and I believe this is the brush that came with it. It's a double-ended brush, which is really great. So I'm just going to tap it all over the lid, pretty much everywhere that I put the primer. I just think that the shade is so flattering, and it's really light enough for the daytime, but you can really amp it up for night as well. Now I wish I could close one eye to do these looks, but I never really learned. I can't even wink, but so that's probably why I get a lot of stuff in my eye and why I probably get so irritated, but one day I'll learn. So next we are going to go to the crease. I like to use the second powder. I think it's the third powder. I'm not quite sure what the name is, but it's like a light taupey brown. And I like to just swirl this with, this is a Dome blending brush from e.l.f. again, which is really great. And we're just going to put that into the crease and bring it around to the outer V of the eye. I like to keep my eyeshadow a little more rounded. I think that just is really flattering for me in my eye, and I find that it's the easiest to do. You don't really need anything else. If you want to create a sharp edge, feel free to do it. But just focus on the crease and making sure it's nice and enhanced. Next we're going to use the darkest dark brown shade from the Double Exposure Smashbox. I love this palette. It's one of the first palettes I actually ever got. We're just going to use this to line the upper and lower lash line. Make sure you get as close to the lashes as possible. This will enhance the eyes and make the lashes appear fuller. I always find the left eye to be the hardest one for me. For some reason it doesn't always end up the same, but with this look you don't want it to be perfect. We're just trying to enhance our features, and again I just love poking myself. That's really what this is. The key to getting a good line, I find, is to start in the middle and then work my way out to the outer corner of my eye. Then I like to bring it to the inner tear duct and work my way into the middle. And as you can see, I didn't make it perfect. I did mess up, and that's okay. For the lower lashes, make sure you make it, again, really close to the lash line as possible. Try not to poke yourself. It's not fun. I like to make my line a little bit thinner. I don't like to make it too thick. You can make it thicker if you want a little more smoky. I think for my eye, it works best to make it thin. And I'm just connecting that upper lash line to the lower lash line just to create an overall shape for my eye. I really like the way that it looked. So again, work your way, for the bottom lashes, work your way from the outer corner and work your way in, all the way to the inner tear duct if you like, or almost there if you don't want to close your eye all the way. So next I'm going to use the silver shade from the same palette, and I'm going to put that with my finger right into the inner tear duct of my eye, bringing it into the lower lashes. I'm also going to use this for, you could use it actually for your brow, and I'm going to use this with the Naked double-ended brush. I really like the way that it enhances the brow bone, so I put just a little bit up there as well. Next is mascara. I'm using the L'Oreal, I believe this is the Carbon Black. It's one of my favorites. I really do love the way that it makes my lashes look nice and full and really, really long. I always apply 2 coats to the top, and I do 1 coat for the bottom just to enhance them just a bit. So last but not least is the lips. I'm using here a lip pencil, I believe it's called Toast, and I'm not really using it to line my lips. I just wanted to add a little bit of color. I like to just smudge it all up in there. I'm not really trying to create a new shape or anything like that. I just want to add just a little bit of color. When you're on the go, you don't really want to take the time to line your full lips. You want to just give it a little bit of color so that you can get out on time. And I'm just using a little bit of a clear lip gloss. This one has shimmer from Bobbi Brown. Again, this is a sample. And I'm just going to apply that all over. What you do want to do is apply a setting spray at the end. I don't have one at the moment, but that is definitely the key to keeping it staying all day.